coming up on the Online Trainer Show.
This is quite interesting. One of the ways that sexual harassment can present itself for, in the online training sphere is through progress pictures that the client chooses to send maybe in the nude. And this can be something, it can come across as totally innocent, like, oh my gosh, like I didn't think anything of it, so I didn't think that you would mind. I'm so sorry. But then it's kind of like, well, no, that's not right.
Hello and welcome to the Online Trainer Show, where we make sense of the online fitness world and help you build your online fitness business and your dream life and have some fun while you're doing it. I'm Jonathan Goodman, one of your co-hosts, and I'm excited that you're here. Thanks for listening. This podcast is made possible by viewers like you, except you're not viewers, you're listeners. Okay, well, I guess a word from our sponsors. We started our online fitness business a couple weeks ago, and as the leaders in online fitness business education for a lot of years, we got to know all of the software companies inside and out. We have been working with them. I've been an advisor. I've advised basically every major software company. And so when it came time for us to build our system, I wanted to choose the one that we were going to work with, the software program that we were going to work with, that was going to be the right combination of ease of use. We're going to onboard a lot of coaches very quickly to work with our clients. We brought on 5 at the beginning, but we wanted to build a system where we could bring on a lot of coaches. So very, very quickly. So it had to be really easy to use, had to have the right kind of automation, had to have the data that we needed in there, had to have an Android app and an EOS app. And so we decided to use PT Distinction. And that's not just because they were the sponsors for our show. We decided to use them after looking at all the options for what we needed the best, and really, really have been loving them so far. So I can't recommend PT Distinction enough if you're looking for online training software. And normally they give a 30-day trial fee to check out the system. But what they've done special for us and listeners of the show, so that's you, is giving you guys a 60-day trial. So basically double the trial period, really to make sure you love them. And one of the things I love about that is it's not like a coupon code. It's nothing, right? Like they're putting skin in the game. Like they're basically willing to let you try out everything they have for free for 60 days, knowing that you're going to love it so that you keep using it. And that to me is a testament to just their own belief in the quality of their system. And that's one of the things that I really look for. But I want to kick it to Ren for a second. Ren, you're one of our coaches in online trainer coaching. Yep. And so you just started using the system, 2 weeks ago and got in there. So how are you finding it so far, man?
It's very much like a pair of shoes for a kid. You can grow into it. What I love about it is how simple it is at the front end.
How did you just come up with that?
Yeah, I just made that up.
That is the best analogy that I think, like that analogy was so perfect for what perfect. You're talking about. And I know you just came up with that on the spot.
I did,
amazing.
But it is, you grow into it. So it works at every level is what I'm finding out, because I'm a little bit more complex as a trainer. I've been online training for a while. So I've been around the block, as they say. And one great thing about PT Distinction is it can go from simplicity to sort of explicit detail in a short amount of time. If you need more detail, if you're expert at programming, PT Distinction makes sense for you. If you're new to programming, PT Distinction is great for you. It's got a great library. So I love the fact that it will sort of grow along with your training business. That's one of my favorite things about it so far, having engaged with it for only a few weeks. So, I got to say, normally I don't support your choices, Jonathan. We all know that. But in this case, I'm willing to say possibly that you didn't make an error.
There you go. I mean, that's fantastic. So guys, if you're listening and you want to get going with that deal, with that special deal for PT Distinction, you can go to the show notes for this episode or just go straight to onlinetrainer.com/PTD. And you'll see there's coupon code. Just enter it in when you check out and you'll get the 60 days to check it out. Next up, I want to talk about the Online Trainer Academy for a moment. Is that cool if I do with you guys?
Yeah, we don't mind.
Okay. Well, there you go. So the Online Trainer Academy, a lot has been happening with the quarantine. A lot has been happening with COVID. A lot of people are talking about online training, are talking about how to do online training. What they're missing simply put, is the breadth of experience. There are some things that you simply can't learn effectively quickly. And if you are a instructor, if you're somebody putting together curriculums, one thing that I've learned is that it takes a lot of time. Because no matter how good a system or a strategy is, you've got to kind of watch that strategy go into the world and be used for like a year plus minimum in order to actually get any reliable information from it. And this is what we provide you guys with the Online Trainer Academy. This is not something that we've put together overnight. We've been around since 2013. 40 plus experts contributed to this. We had the senior course developer from Yale University do an independent audit on the learning styles of this. Just as one example, we've actually had multiple academic independent audits. We've had over 30,000 people like go through this, battle test it, prove it in 87 countries. And all along the way, we've iterated on and improved upon in ways that, to be quite honest, you probably can't really even tell if you're going through it. What makes a great program is not stuff that you notice. What makes a great program is comfort going through it, or things that you're applying, you're making use of the stuff as you're going without really even knowing just how powerful that stuff is. And then you look back at it a few years down the line and you're like, oh man, they prepared me for this.
Yeah.
And so I would love it if you guys were to join us for the Online Trainer Academy, see what we're all about. I mean, we've got a guarantee, if it, like, we put our money where our mouth is, man. Onlinetrainer.com/academy. Sign up. You can get going for as little as $87 a month for 12 months. We guarantee you that you will make a minimum $1,000 with your online training business within 90 days of enrolling, or we'll give you your money back. Test it out. Take the leap. And we'd love to work with you. That's the Online Trainer Academy, onlinetrainer.com/academy. We'd love to work with you.
This is the Online Trainer Show. Trainer Show. Trainer Show. This is the Online Trainer Show. We shouldn't have a podcast.
So today, guys, I don't know if you saw the news, but there was a big announcement today in our Slack channel about the success of the podcast. Did you guys see this?
Was it? There was
a big announcement.
Have we hit another success marker? What did we do?
We did. We are number 3 in fitness in Lithuania.
All right.
That's
way to go.
Right?
Smash.
They know
City.
what's up. They know what's up.
Shouts out to you, Lithuania. Now, Jonathan, I was listening to. So first of all, full transparency, I don't know what we say on the podcast. Like, people ask me what we've said, and I don't know. I don't even know what we've said on the podcast that we're recording. Like, later on in this podcast, there'll be some reference, and Jonathan will say something like, "Ren, I literally just said," and I won't know. So I'm listening to the thing, like, Jonathan, I'm listening to the last podcast, the one that aired today, and it's got a crazy Jonathan Goodman story about sleeping in a cave in Thailand or something.
Oh, okay.
Poisoned by a centipede or something happened. You got bitten.
Yo, that hurt.
Yeah, and then there was a fungus that you and Dr. Allison got. So my question is, Jonathan,
It took us about a year and a half to kick. It wasn't the fungus. Well, we did catch a fungus. She still has a bit of the fungus on her shoulder. If you put like a black light on it, she still has a little bit of fungus. Oh my God. But we caught parasite infection on that same trip on an island called Phu Quoc in Vietnam.
Of course you did, Jonathan.
It took us about a year and a half to get that out of our system.
Like, you've got to have like immunity to so many poisonous insects and plants after all the incidents you've had. But
I don't get sick. I legit don't.
You just don't get sick.
Ever.
Okay.
Ever.
Now, do you have a Lithuania story? Like, did you sleep in a bunk bed in Lithuania with a children's orchestra or anything like that? No.
But I did. Okay. I did look into the numbers a little bit more. And what I discovered was that we have 2 listeners in Lithuania. And it's a 3-way tie for 3rd place. And then first place has 5 listeners. And second
diving
place.
into the numbers.
Oh my God. We are so taking them down. I'm just saying, like, my competitive self is like bristled now.
We're good in Romania, right? So like, if anybody from Romania wants to move to Lithuania to pump up,
bump the numbers.
Yeah. Yeah, we would be.
Let's get the numbers moving. That'll be OTM. That'll be our moving section of the online.
And the other news. Well, the other news actually is a new product that we're going to be coming out with, which is OTL.
That's right.
Trainer Love.
That's right. We sparked a connection.
What?
Sparked a connection. We sparked two connections.
Yeah.
There was, at least twice in the last week, I was notified that people met the loves of their life because of the teachings in the Online Trainer Academy.
Yes.
So one of the things that we encourage you to do was just talk to people, because I feel like humans don't talk to other humans enough these days. And maybe the best marketing you'll ever do is like, hey, why don't you actually talk to somebody? It's like, what about all these funnels? What about all these ads? It's like, maybe you should just like talk to a human. Right. And so we give this, I call it a strategy. Literally, we tell you to message 5 people a day and say hi. That's actually it. Mm-hmm. I mean, you don't need to take the Online Training Academy. Like, that's what we tell you to do. And so these people, these 2 women messaged people who they knew at one point, and they were both, I think, childhood friends. I think one was somebody they went to school with, and one was
went to school.
Yeah. And now they're both engaged to get married. And so this woman posted it in our Facebook group that she met the love of her life because of OTA. And so now, for a low price of $299,
that's right.
We are officially releasing the version of Online Trainer Love. We're going to go for all the letters of the alphabet. I told you.
Every letter.
Every
Love
letter.
it. Yeah.
Yeah. Online Trainer Xylophone. We're going to do.
Yeah. You got to do xylophone. Xenophobe, baby.
Online Trainer Zookeepers.
I think that's an Online Trainer moving. We're going to move some Romanians to Lithuania to boost some numbers. Right. So we'll come out. We'll pack up the house. Put the piano away, the cat, dog, whatever you got. And as part of that OTL deal, I'll come out personally. I will lounge sing your wedding reception. Give you a little love boat.
If you live in certain states in the United States, Len will become an ordained minister.
That's right.
In those
That's
states.
right.
And perform the wedding for you.
We need it. That's the next OT certification.
OTM, Online Training.
I mean, that's Ren Jones from Fortress. Let me remind y'all, it's Ren Jones from Fortress. So it's a big deal.
Come aboard, we're expecting you, the love boat. Ba-da-ba. Soon we'll be making another run. I'm there. It's like, so you got the lounge singer. We'll lock it. Eventually, here's what we're thinking. And I've talked to Jonathan extensively about this. Eventually, a bunch of conversations. Eventually, there's going to be like Disney, Amazon, and then PTDC. And those 3 entities will own everything in the world. And we're going to chop down that alphabet. We're going to do everything here out of this platform.
We've got a supplier for plush toys already.
We have a plush toys?
We've got a
OTP
plush toy supplier.
So OTP is taking care of OTP Online Trainer plush toys. We got that handled. We need some hair products.
Well, I don't know about that. Anyway, today, speaking of love, today's subject is one that Len and I know very little about. And today's subject is what to do when you're sexually harassed by your online client.
Holy smokes!
So it's going to be an intense one, and I'm really looking forward to hearing what Carolina and Amber have. And I didn't introduce the show properly, so I guess I'll do that.
That's all right. Whatever.
Should I do that now? Yeah, Amber's nodding. We got to keep the script.
Do what Amber says.
Yeah, all right. Hello, my name is Jonathan Goodman, and welcome to the Online Trainer Show. Today is episode 35, I think, and we're talking about what to do when you're sexually harassed by your online client. This is going to be a deep one, guys. Thanks for being here.
We're digging deep for this one today.
But
it needs to be talked about.
It does.
It needs to be talked about because
it needs to be talked about by 2 men where the 2 women on the podcast are not actually allowed to get in a word edgewise.
Right.
That's appropriate.
We're gonna talk incessantly about how we think you should relate to this subject, ladies, and then consider ourselves, and then we may let you sprinkle in a word or 2.
Maybe an anecdote.
It's gonna go well.
Yeah,
maybe an anecdote.
So I'm
by the
really
way, this is the last episode of the Online Trainer Show. The public uproar in Lithuania and Romania was too much for us to take. We decided that it was time to kick it, and
time to tap out.
At the same time, on the same token, Caroline and Amber have split off on their own and formed their own show. And it has blasted off the charts.
Splintered off the online. So Catalina, obviously you're probably going to provide us much more insight here, in Amber as well. But I never want to pass up the opportunity to dig into your deep personal life before we get started on any subject. It's some people are tuning in just for that. I realize that.
Right. Totally. So fascinating.
It is. It's quite fascinating. So what's going on? I can't imagine what's going on now. It's been so long. It's been like 5 whole days, and normally you turn around for us in 2 days is incredible.
If I have to be perfectly honest, like in all the glamour that is my life, of course, right now, my living room is a shit show of laundry and mismatched toddler socks, and it's like my entire wardrobes have exploded because school starts tomorrow, and we're digging out the kid clothes don't fit anymore. The sleeves that go up to the elbow, like that's not going to cut it anymore. So very fascinating. And I know you wish you had.
Can we talk about why the amount of socks that I lose of Calvin socks? How? Where do they go?
Where do they go? What happens to them? What do they transform into? There's got to be like a portal to a different dimension, and they're all partying in a different, world. And then we're here wondering what the heck happened, because it's just, you cannot believe the amount of mismatched socks. No. Why? Why do you come back with one sock, child? Why?
Well, not even that, just even out of the laundry. It's like, I know I put both socks in this machine.
Yeah, and now,
but
that's the portal,
right? I took everything out of the machine.
Yeah.
And I didn't do anything else. I put it on the bed. I left it there for 4 days, hoping that somebody else would do it.
Right.
And then this is actually legit. What my wife does is we put the laundry on the floor, and then I never do it. And what she does is she actually picks it up and puts it on the bed. Nice. On my side of the bed.
Yeah, like you can't ignore it anymore.
At that point, I can't pick it up off
like
of the bed.
Face your problems, Jonathan. They're not going away.
Yeah, so I know that I put it on the floor. I know that it sits there for 4 days, and I know that my wife takes that same pile and puts it on my side of the bed, forcing me to do it, or else I can't sleep that night. And I'm not going to be that guy who sleeps on the couch because he doesn't want to do his laundry. That's where I go to. I did that once. That's where I go.
You have boundaries.
And then I go to fold it, and I'm like, how are there 3 individual socks here?
No idea. And I think every parent can relate here. So if you have any tips about where those damn socks go, let us know, because this is baffling.
The irony here
is that if you want to know where those damn socks go, let us know. We'll put it on the show.
Uh-oh, here we go.
Howdy ho, here we go. Do you like my flow?
I gotta say no.
That's gonna be a no.
Yeah, it's no for me, dog.
Big old no.
I'm wearing mismatched toddler socks right now, so it's so ironic. We didn't plan that.
That's a do-si-do.
It's just it's just a synergy of the online trainer show. So we got to switch gears here.
You should go more slow.
I should go more slow, but Amber said no, and she runs this show, so I guess we just have to go. So let's change the flow over to Carolina, though. So Catalina, this is something that's common in-person settings, right? Mm-hmm. Now I can say from the male perspective, I have had this experience in the in-person setting of our industry in coaching, pretty common. And I saw a post. I can't remember which group. I think it was Online Trainers Unite, where a young lady said that something was it that one, Amber? Somebody said it's something inappropriate.
The Fit Pros Unite.
Yeah. Okay. Fit Pros Unite, where the gentleman said, I something to the effect of, please don't wear those pants or those shorts or something because I have a trouble.
Amber, talk about what that post. Yeah. This wasn't anybody in the group. This was somebody in the group saying that this happened to them. Yeah. What happened?
Yeah, she has her facility and she took on a new male client. And after their first session, she got a request from him not to wear form-fitting leggings anymore because it was distracting him.
Ugh.
Wow.
Yuck.
That is yuck.
So she was just looking for feedback as to whether that was really her responsibility or how to deal with it.
Nope.
Right. And what I loved about that thread was how quick everyone was like
to smack down that client, for sure.
Yeah,
Smack down the client, but it's a hard thing to do, right? It's really easy to say from behind your keyboard when that's happening to somebody else.
Yeah.
Here's what you do. Tell that guy to go like
oh, yeah.
Clearly he's in the wrong. Clearly you need to say like, yo, but how do you do it? How do you actually breach that, have that conversation? Because here's my issue with this, and what I think is really hard is that person knows where you work, right? They know where you are all the time. Allison had a situation like that at our house where somebody who was doing general contracting work across the road, she was just like chatting with Calvin, and then he came back, I think it was the next day or something, like in his regular clothes, and like walked across and started talking to her. And it was, in this case, it was innocent. He basically went and like outside of his company and was back at that person's house to do some other work that was like cash work. And that person wasn't home to let him in. They were running late. And so he saw Allison, came chat. But she was a little bit, it's like, it's a freaky thing because, yo, this is where I live. You know, you can't get away from that. Right. So what do you do? Right?
I'm really glad that you're asking this, because this is a legitimate concern for women. Whenever we're faced in a situation in which we have to turn down a man, there's always a split-second decision of how much danger are you going to put yourself by saying no, by saying stop it, by saying I don't appreciate that. You, especially if you don't know the person, if they seem off, if something, like if you're getting that vibe, it's scary. And so we do it's very common for us to revert to kind of like that, just kind of like laugh it off, okay, bye. And because that feels safe. But at the same time, I'm telling you, as a woman who has done this before, you hate yourself for having to respond that way. Because in reality, you want to tell them off and you want to tell them to go
You
F
mean
themselves
responding in a lighthearted way?
Because that feels like the safe thing to do, but it's not authentic because you're angry, you're upset, you're creeped out, and you wish you could say those things without putting yourself in potential harm's way. So it's super tricky, and there is no right answer. And I think the most important thing to take away from that for any women listening who have been in this kind of situation, the response that you have in the moment that kept you safe, that is the correct response. It's okay. It doesn't matter. You don't need to beat yourself up for if you should have been harsher, if you had only been clearer the first time around. You can't always predict how your instinct is going to kick in when you're in that moment. You know, later you can kind of like in hindsight, you can start practicing different responses that you can maybe use next time, and you can feel more prepared and more assertive. Totally fine. But if you do face a situation like that, however it is that you respond that kept you safe, that's okay. Don't beat yourself up for that.
What would be your advice to this woman who, I mean, she was in the gym, this wasn't online, but she was in the gym with a client, and I think it was the first session with a new client. Yeah. And he said, next time don't wear those tights because it's distracting me. What would be the appropriate, like, not necessarily in the moment, but how would you suggest that that's responded to, dealt with?
Yeah. So I think the first step here is that you, as a woman who is in this situation, you sit with yourself and you define for you what you want to happen next. Do you want to just make your boundaries clear? Okay. Do you feel so uncomfortable that you no longer want to work with this client at all? That's also a fair option. So first of all, sit with yourself and figure out where you want to go from this. And now once that you know that, you take the next step. So for example, if I'm so uncomfortable that I don't wish to work with him at all because I'm so creeped out and this is just awkward now, then I would be upfront about, like, that comment was out of place. It was very unprofessional. I did not feel comfortable, and I no longer feel comfortable working with you. So here are 3 names of 3 colleagues that you can, I'm happy to refer you to. They're all dudes, they're all men, right? And then that's it. Like, be on your way, have a happy life, be done with it. And that's okay. And on the other side, sometimes we put up with more that we want to because we need the income. It's a reality, and it's a really, really shitty reality, but it's true. And I'm never going to look down on a woman who has to kind of like take on certain things that she would rather, if she wishes she had the power to just like shut down the person, but because of income situations, you kind of need to put up with it, at least for now. That's okay too. And I would never kind of like, victim blame somebody for being in that situation, financial situation. So if you want to continue working with a person and you want to establish your boundaries, then you say precisely that, right? Like, hey, you know what? Last session, when you made that comment, that was really awkward and uncomfortable for me. So in order for this professional relationship to be able to continue, I'm just going to ask you to no longer refer to any shape or form of how I look, how my body looks, what my clothes, like the way that you react is, your responsibility. And I am holding you to that responsibility.
Man, so I've got questions.
Yes, sir.
Keto, Amber, either one. I've got 2 I got 2 specific questions. Number 1, and I'd like to get an answer from both of you ladies. Number 1, can that genie go back in the bottle? Like, once that thing's out,
right?
Can you even put it back? It's like kissing your professor at college. Like, can you recover that at all?
I can't speak to the kissing the professor part. I can speak to the whole, like,
in general. I mean,
well,
you're
it's
still
like
there in that space. Can you put that genie back in the bottle?
I want to know first, Ren, why you went there and if there's a story to back that up.
Oh no!
Why do we need to know, Ren?
I've got no story that I can share here. But seriously, like, I can only, like, from the male perspective, I'm so the antithesis of that personality type.
That's true.
Like, I will go out of my way to be sure that there's not even the slightest inkling of,
doubt that something.
None of it. But I couldn't imagine tripping over my own male testosterone poisoning.
Well, you know what it is, I think.
And bringing it back.
From the male perspective, we don't feel physically threatened, I think, to a large extent.
Oh, absolutely.
Like, I was sexually harassed multiple times when I trained.
But you don't feel threatened.
And it was stuff like, the neighborhood that I trained in was a very affluent neighborhood in Toronto, where this is just how the situation was. There was a lot of very, very wealthy women who were stay-at-home, who were married to very wealthy men who worked long hours and had women on the side and traveled a lot, and the women were just looking for basically anything else. And so, just due in large part to the nature of the neighborhood, there was a lot of swingers parties. There was, we had people who had to leave our gym because of entanglements
good word.
In the facility of members and stuff like that. And we actually had to we had to, as trainers, sometimes go to people and just be like, hey, like, I know this is happening. These people aren't comfortable being in the facility with you anymore. Kind of it's you or them. Right? Like, we actually had to deal with some of that stuff. And I was invited to fishbowl parties, where, if anybody doesn't know what that is, basically it's a party. Yeah.
Why do I know this? I do know what it is.
You watch a lot of TV late at night.
The southern side of the podcast is totally confused as to what we're about to hear. Amber and I.
A fishbowl party is where a whole bunch of couples go to a party, and the men take their watch or their car keys and they put it in a fishbowl, and then all the women come and they pick one out, and whoever they pick out is like their partner for that evening. And
Well,
yeah,
Is this a Canadian thing? They're really confused right now.
this is a rich people like who are bored thing. I think. No, I mean there are like swinger communities, right? And there are like anyway. So
Which is totally fine because we don't kink shame either.
Yeah,
totally
we're not
cool.
shaming
That's what you do,
Yeah.
and if it's with the
Yeah.
other person's permission and acceptance, totally cool. Do what you
completely.
want.
But there was, I guess my point in this, before we get back to you guys who, I mean, really deal with the brunt of it, is I encountered it, and it's interesting looking back because I encountered things that were very overt sexual harassment by older women when I was training on the floor, and I never once felt in any way threatened or put off by it.
Yes. Whereas as a woman, you do. There's
Right.
always that, that little thing in the back of your head is like, oh my God, is he going to follow me to my car in the parking lot?
Right.
Does he know where I live? Like, am I going to start weirdly running into him at coffee shops or whatever? Like, it's a thing. Like, you can be physically overpowered, and that's very scary. So yes, there is definitely an element of keeping yourself safe. I think an important step, kind of like logistics wise, whenever a situation of harassment occurs, is that for your own safety as a trainer, whether you're a male or a female, you want to document exactly what happened, the interaction, with as much detail as you can. You can record yourself telling the story. You can write it out in an email, whatever is easiest for you, but you need some tangible proof of the date, the time, where you were standing, who else was in the gym, everything that you can have, because then if this is a situation in which this client in particular has a tendency to behave this way, often either with you or with others as well, having that set of proof it just works in your favor. And you can't really trust your memory. You do tend to forget things, memories do tend to get jumbled a little bit. So as fresh as you have it in your head, write it all down, record yourself saying the story, and share it with administration or whoever else needs to be aware of this, because you don't have to do that alone either.
Such a great tip that I never even thought about. And, piggybacking off what Jonathan said, it's much more of the pool boy in the Lifetime movie situation for a male trainer. It's funny, oh, Mrs. Johnson, you're always so feisty, but you never feel physically threatened. Like I'm never wondering if someone knows where I parked. Or followed me home or something like that, because there's so many horror stories. But I want to return back to that earlier question though, because I think this is I think it's an important question. Like, are there incidents where this happens and you just go back to normal with the client, and you have a conversation, and then things turn out happily ever after that. You have a great working relationship. Is that something in your minds that is even possible?
I'm going to let Amber add on to this, but out of like a personal situation that I did have with a client, I can tell you that, you can go back, you reestablish your boundaries. They can be in every shape and form, like super apologetic and understanding that they totally messed up and this is never going to happen again, and never do it again. Like, really hold themselves to that. And still, you're always going to have that little thing keeping you like, you got to keep your extra alerts around this dude, because he already did it once. And if there's ever like any extra situation, like you're an extra alert, which really sucks, because the last thing that you want is feel like you have to be extra cautious with your own clients in your own space of work because of something stupid like that. But that stupidity is on them, because they were the ones, like, that's a bell that you can't, one's wrong, you can't unring that, like, right? Like, no, you can't. There's always going to be like an extra caution there, even if the professional relationship continues. If you choose to do so, there's always something left. What do you think, Amber?
Amber, what say ye?
Ye says, context is important. And it depends on really what's happened. In the specific example that we talked about from the Fit Pros Unite group, there's no question that was boundary testing to see what he could get away with. It's not like he was trying to flirt and then got shot down and he's like, oh, okay. And then like return, to normal. And if he was 19, 20, a little bit of credit of being young and dumb and not not knowing to be more careful and a learning curve. But what Carolina's saying is true. I mean, no matter what, you're always going to be a little extra on guard about everything from what you say, how you stand, how you position yourself, what you share, especially talking about in context of online specifically. I find it interesting because the really good thing about online training is people are willing to be more open. So we learn so much more about our clients because there's that kind of safety and distance. And so they're more willing to dig deep into the raw vulnerableness of their lives. But at the same time, is if you're working with someone potentially that might be interested, then there's also the safety of, what are they going to do if I say something inappropriate or send something inappropriate? There's kind of a higher chance of that happening. It feels like to me anyway. So, context is important, but at the end of the day, you have to trust your gut because it's not going to steer you wrong.
I think cultural differences potentially come in online a lot more. I mean, locally, there could still be cultural differences. Well, maybe not in North Carolina. There's not too many different cultures there. But in places like Toronto, well, not really Barrie either. There's only like a few people who live there. But in places like Toronto,
got tall people and short people.
Carolina basically fills out the culture quota of the town.
The center of culture is Carolina's house.
The center of culture is Carolina and the mayor's house. And so, it is possible that locally there's going to be some cultural differences, but one thing that becomes very jarring when you travel and when you really get to know people abroad is just how ingrained and acceptable, whether it's right that they're acceptable or not by our standards is a totally different conversation, but how acceptable it is by that local culture standards to act or speak a certain way. They might not mean anything by, I wouldn't say that. I wouldn't say that they might not mean anything by it, but it might be perfectly acceptable.
Yeah, I would phrase it like they are used to getting away with it.
Right.
Mexican culture is a perfect example of that,
it really
right?
is. And they're used to
men are
getting
not
away.
faithful in Mexican culture.
Nope. It's a very misogynistic and patriarchal structure for sure. And so, but then, again, even with context and everything, like you as a person, you have your own inner compass. So anything that feels off, you need to listen to that and you need to honor that for yourself.
Yeah.
If for nothing else,
I think
for you.
Online, perhaps that comes in. I would not at all speak for you, Amber, you, Carolina, here. So you can respond to this and tell me what your reaction to it. But it seems to me like if you feel like it's potentially gray, like you're not quite sure, maybe they think it's a joke and it's okay for it to be a joke. Whether it is objectively or not is a completely another question, but whether they believe that it's maybe a joke because of where they might be coming from. If you communicate to them, just say, look, this is how I took that. Like, is that something that you would do if you feel like they're not quite sure, like they might not even be aware? When we were traveling through Spain, I could not believe the machismo, how do you pronounce it? Machismo. Just the male bravado was disgusting. By our standards, it was disgusting. They wouldn't even look at Allison. It was, and we were with our nanny culture as well, who, was 29 years old from Texas at the time, right? They wouldn't even look at them, right? It was gross, but that was just, we're in their country. So
right.
I don't know how to deal with that. So anyway, I'd love for you to respond to that and let me know what you think, because I don't know what the answer is there.
I don't know that I know either. I think that's why I default so much to what feels right and what feels wrong for you.
Right.
So because your level of tolerance for certain comments or jokes is going to be different to mine. And that's based on past experiences, potential past trauma, difficult situations. That's why we always say when, we need to, like a society, just in general, we need to default to, for example, not making comments about people's bodies.
Right.
Why? Because it's something that for us, like, oh, I'm just paying you a compliment, or, oh, I was just joking, or, oh, this is totally normal. We don't know the other person's story. And so we don't know what we're adding to that narrative when we come with our, allegedly, just totally normal comments. Like, we can't be doing that. So in the same sense, when guys are like, well, you know, I was just like, it was just like innocent flirting. Well, it's innocent to you, but it's potentially not innocent to her. So can you just not?
Right. Or as a guy, I mean, times have changed a lot in the last 15, 20 years of what's acceptable to say and do and what isn't. Even in a very progressive town like Toronto, and really, like, Canada is about as like progressive as respectful as you're going to get, right? And when I grew up, high school, even into university, even up like until 5 or 6 years ago, it was considered appropriate to, if you see that a woman has gone out of her way to focus on her appearance in some way, to recognize it and compliment it,
verbalize it.
That was like what you were supposed to do, right? And now you're not. Now, and I totally agree with you. Like, now you just don't notice it, but you know, I wonder sometimes. I mean, with Allison, we've had conversations about it. Right. So with people close to you, we've had conversations about it. Hey, like, how do you feel about these types of conversations? How do you feel? Like, do you want me to recognize it? Do you want me to appreciate you in other ways? Like, how does that feel? Like, we've had those conversations, but you can have that with somebody you love and somebody you see every day.
Exactly.
I still don't know how to act
not
socially.
necessarily with a stranger.
Right.
Like, I still don't know how to act socially. Like, how should I act? Should I just not ever mention appearance in any way? I mean, really, like I don't. I mean, I'm like I want to do the right thing. I want to be respectful. I don't want to make anybody feel.
There are different ways of saying, like, for example, if you want to say to somebody that you look great, like, what is it? If you take a moment to analyze, what is it that you're admiring about them? Do they look energetic? Do they look super happy? Like, are they bouncing with like joy today? Then comment on that. Like, that's a beautiful way to comment on a person's appearance, because in the end, the way that we feel inside usually is how we look in the, you know, we're kind of like projecting it on the outside. So comment on that. It's like, you look so happy today. Oh my God. Like, you look like tell me about this. Like, what's this energy that I'm feeling from you? It's awesome. And I want to know. So sharing that's a great way to bring a compliment. And I think, well, if I can bring it a little bit back to kind of like online training, a comment that I do want to make, because I have heard this actually from my male online trainer friends, and this is quite interesting. One of the ways that sexual harassment can present itself for, you know, in the online training sphere is through progress pictures that the client chooses to send, maybe in the nude. And this can be something, you know, it can come across as totally innocent, like, oh my gosh, like, I didn't think anything of it, so I didn't think that you would mind. I'm so sorry. But then it's kind of like, well, no, that's not right. So of course, like, when you set out your business, when you ask for progress pictures, always specify like, oh, beach wear is a great or shorts and top is a great choice.
Yes.
Kind of like specify it there. And if a client does happen to cross that boundary and send you, you know, quote unquote, progress pictures in the above, for your sake and for your own protection, address it. Do have a conversation about it, preferably over email, because then you have a trail of you, like, you have now a history of confronting and asking them to stop. And because you never want to be in a position in which, like, well, this dude was fine with seeing me naked 2 months ago, like, right? Like,
you just don't ever want to be in that position.
No.
I don't,
and that is sexual
stopped,
harassment. Yeah. Just so you know, guys, for the men listening, that is a form of sexual harassment. You do not have to tolerate it. You don't have to be funny about it. You can be firm, establish a boundary, and do not let it happen again.
And then they could also come after you in certain ways afterwards if something has, if the relationship has been shuttered. Document it, keep a folder on your computer with all of that time stamped just in case. I actually stopped, well, I haven't been to a live event for a long time, but but the last year or so that I was going to live events before COVID hit, obviously a lot of people will like take pictures, right? And after you speak, a lot of, oh, can I get a picture? Can I get a picture? And I won't touch a woman.
Yeah.
I will.
Have you seen Keanu Reeves?
Yeah,
like he does like the floating hand. Yeah, the floating hand, right? But he's just being respectful, right? Like
if you look at photos of me from the last few events that I spoke at, it's exactly that. I mean, she might have like her arm like wrapped around my shoulder or something, like totally cool with me. But like, I just don't want anybody to ever,
and I do want to get
think
ahead
that I meant anything by it. Like, you got to get ahead of this stuff.
Yes, no, and right now I want to get ahead of those people listening who are being like, oh my God, this political correctness bullshit is, it's tearing the world down. We can't even joke anymore. We can't even do anything. Like, listen, if this is your only form of humor and comedy and joking, then stop joking. Don't freaking do it anymore, because we don't want it. Like, no, it's not helpful. So seriously, like, get creative, find other ways of relating to people that do not involve sexually harassing them. So there.
Right. That's so interesting, Keto, because I hear this all the time. Yeah, Amber gave a round of applause, but I hear this all the time. Like, you can't do this anymore. Everybody says, no, actually, you could never do it.
Right. It was always unacceptable.
Yeah,
We're just
it was always bad.
It out. Yeah.
You would just people just could not. People couldn't wrap it up. People just couldn't stop from steamrolling other people who were not able to defend themselves or speak out for themselves. Yeah. But it was never a good thing. It didn't change.
Exactly.
People started sticking up for themselves. That's why it's wrong. Like Keto said, like if that's your playbook, dump it. Dump that playbook. Go into hiding. So we, and also I like to make this point for the male trainers out there, because I can speak to this because I exclusively work with women as a population. You can learn how to better do your job and also respect your clients if you choose to get the information. Keto knows that Girls Gone Strong and Molly Keto, they've been an asset to my business and learning things like what you can say. They have, Girls Gone Strong has published extensive lists out there, male trainers, of compliments you can give a woman that don't involve her body. Do the research to be a professional at your profession. You learn better and then you do better. You don't excuse it. Well, I didn't know. That doesn't fly. That doesn't fly. I'm older than Jonathan. So back in my day, the things that we could say, I think I'm 12 or 13 years older. So back in my day, we were saying things like, hey, Jimmy, look at those dames on the block. Hey, you dames look swell. So you can't say stuff like that anymore. I was born in the 30s.
I was born in the 1930s in the Prohibition era. Right. Folks, this was great. I got to run. I'll let you guys wrap up the show. I got to run to another call. But I just want to thank Carolina and Amber for sharing today. I think this will be helpful to a lot of people, and men and women.
Thank you guys. Bye.
Absolutely. So we're going to wrap this thing up. You can find the show notes and all that stuff onlinetrainer.com/podcast. Special thanks to Carolina Belmontes and Amber Reynolds. Amber talked a lot today. It was amazing. Like 40% more than she normally chats. Yeah, she's exhausted now. She's tapped out. She's gonna need a sitter later. She used all her energy here. But hey, be sure to leave us a review, guys. And I would especially love to hear feedback about this episode.
Yes, me too.
This, Amber, I'm thinking this could be a good sort of follow-up topic for us after people get a chance to absorb this episode. If we could do like a follow-up episode down the line about this, sort of what they learned, even if we have some feedback from the listeners who have other stories or questions or revelations that they had as a result of this episode. I think this is one of the more necessary and actionable episodes that we've had, because it's dicey out there at best, and what we know about the online community is that the internet sort of magnifies things, right? Yeah. If you're a turd, you're like 5 times a turd on the internet.
That's a scientific formula right there.
Yeah, that's science. That's kinesiology. But literally, like if you're an awesome person, you're usually 5 times the awesome person on the internet. You have a vehicle to spread your awesomeness. But if you're an asshole, you know,
Mm-hmm.
people are very, very brave from behind the keyboard,
Yeah.
showing things they would not show in person, saying things to women that they would not say in person.
Mm-hmm.
You know, it's a minefield. It really does. It really does exacerbate everything. That's my big word for the day. Jingle, jingle. That's all we got today. Tune in next time for episode 30 something, whatever it is, 35, 34, who knows? But thanks for tuning in to the Online Trainer Show. Hit the jingle. Jingle, jingle. Bye, guys.
Bye.
Oh, you're the best. Bye-bye.
This is the Online Trainer Show. Trainer Show. Trainer Show. This is the Online Trainer Show. We shouldn't have a podcast.